and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place. Today we have our 8K special, and I want to say thank you so much. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Zuko Midoriya. A hero? Don't make me laugh. I looked around in some sort of void, seeing Listener, or at least it looked like them. They had more of a shadowy presence to them, and their normal eyes were now a dark red, and black surrounded them. They walked forward. You think you're a hero? That you're my hero? You're weak. You couldn't even develop your quirk on your own. They pushed me back. Once you realize you'll never do any good in this world, then maybe you actually might do some. They laughed insanely. They leaned in close. Bye-bye, Zuko. Zuko. Zuko! Listener shouted, shaking me. What? Babe, are you okay? You were shaking and talking in your sleep. You scared the hell out of me. Whoa, they yelled as I tackled them into a hug. They hugged me back, rubbing my back. A nightmare, huh? I nodded against their hair. They pulled my face back so they were looking me in the eyes. Well, nightmares aren't real, you're okay. I leaned in and kissed them. They rubbed my back a little more before slowly pulling away once again. You want to talk about it? I nodded, slowly starting to explain it to them as they sat down and listened, which was all they needed to do right now. Once I was done, they kissed my temple. Well, your nightmares are stupid. I would never say anything like that. I believe way too much in you, and I love you way too much to even think about it. Katsuki Bakugo. I sat up against the wall tied up, watching the villains beat Listener. Every now and again they were spitting up blood from getting kicked and punched in the gut. I, for once, was bawling my eyes out when I watched this. Let them go! They don't fucking deserve this! I cried out. One of the villains looked at me before glancing back at the others and nodding their head. The villains smirked as they walked out of the room. I thought maybe they were leaving them alone before they all walked in with knives. Listener! 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 I shouted as I woke up. They groaned, peeling the book that had fallen on their face off as they sat up. Bakugo, why are you yelling? It's 2 in the fucking morning. I pulled them in and kissed them. When they pulled away, they could see the visible tears in my eyes. Immediately, their hand went to my cheek and rubbed the tears away. Katsuki Bakugo, why are you crying? They rarely used my full name unless they were extremely worried. I'm happy you're okay. Why wouldn't I be okay, darling? Did you have a nightmare? I nodded. They closed their eyes before kissing me again. I wrapped my arms around their waist and deepened the kiss. When they pulled back, they asked, Did that help? I nodded. Do you want to cuddle? I nodded again, and we laid back down as they snuggled into my chest. Shoto Todoroki. I looked around at the darkly colored beach, the sand black and the water red. What the hell is going on? I thought. Looking out into the water, I saw a figure rise from it. The water looked to be coming from their wrists. Once I stepped forward, I noticed a figure that looked identical to Listener. The figure dunked down and it looked like they were drowning, before rising back up in front of me and making me fall back into the black sand. Why? Why didn't you save me, Shoto? They said, getting closer as more red dripped from their wrists. Shoto. 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 Listener said, carefully shaking me. Are you okay? You're scaring me. I immediately sat up once I realized I was awake. I grabbed Listener's wrists, looking at them. Sho, what are you... When was the last time? They were shocked. I had asked so suddenly. Huh? Why are you... Just answer me, please, I pleaded. They sighed. About 3 months ago. I took a breath of relief. It wasn't the best, but at least it had been a couple months since it happened. I placed my temple against theirs, rubbing my thumbs over their scars. Todoroki, are you okay? You seem more scared than you usually do, they stuttered out. I simply shook my head. It's nothing, Listener. Let's just go back to sleep. They nodded, holding me close as we laid back in their bed and fell asleep. Denki Kaminari. I was running through a forest trying to run from something. What that something was, I couldn't tell yet, but I knew I had to run from it. Eventually, I tripped over a branch, falling face first into the dirt of the forest. Get him! Listener? No, I turned my head back, recognizing the person standing in the middle of their 4 brothers who were slowly getting closer. Rip his head off for all I care, just get him! Brother 1 punched me, making my face go further into the ground, but slowly but surely they were all attacking me, and then it went all dark. I gasped, sitting up and looking around. Seeing I was still at Listener's room, I got up and started to change before they woke up, but I wasn't fast enough. Cammy, what are you doing? Stay back, I said as they started to reach towards me. They seemed shocked and fearful. Baby, are you okay? What's wrong? I need to go. Soon enough, I made my way out the door, Listener close behind me. Denki, slow down! They grabbed my wrist and making me stop and pulled me into a hug. They ran their hand through my hair, soothing me. What happened? I just got scared for a minute. Why did you get scared? After a few moments of silence, I started to explain the dream to them. They pulled me in to face them and kissed me. Well, that would never happen. Let's get your circuit-fried brain to bed. Alright, so this is part 1 of it, because I have to go to class now. Eijiro, Kirishima. It was raining. I was at a funeral. Everyone was in black, the only color being the roses that were near the coffin. I started to walk forward when the world around me turned black and I couldn't see anything. When the world came back, I was no longer at the funeral, but at a graveyard a few feet away from a gravestone that had roses in front of it. I walked forward slowly. Once I reached it, I bent down and read the name. Listener. No, I said, fully falling to my knees and onto the ground. No, 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 I repeated as I woke up. As I kept repeating it, I didn't notice Listener was still beside me and that they had woken up. Babe, what are you doing? They looked over at the clock. It's 4 a.m. We have school in a few hours. I kept repeating no until they finally shook me, knocking me out of my trance. I looked over at them. I quickly pulled them on top of me and hugged them. Whoa, Eijiro, they whispered, as I placed my head into the crook of their neck. What's wrong? You woke up saying no and now you're being clingy. Wait, they said, sitting up and looking me in the eye. Baby, did you have a nightmare? Maybe. They gave me a sad smile as they gave me a peck on the lips. If I cuddle you, can we go back to sleep? Mm-hmm. Good, 'cause we have a test tomorrow. Tanya Ida. Listener was laying there in a hospital bed, wires hooked up to them as they were on life support. I was standing in front of them, their mother and their brother at the sides of them, crying with me. Soon the doctor came in and walked over to their mom. They started speaking to each other as their mother had broke down more and had tears in her eyes, and she nodded to the doctor. Walking over to the machine, I looked at them one last time before pulling the plug, making me hear a flatline as the world turned white. I woke up panting, Listener snuggled in my chest, still sleeping soundly, which made me smile with how cute they looked in that moment. Though, if I told her that they were cute when they woke up, they might have tackled me and told me to shut up. As I stroked their hair, they eventually did wake up, yawning quietly as they looked back up at me. Tanya, what are you doing? I'm surprised you haven't gone to sleep yet, or started a rant about why I need a good amount of sleep in a night. I chuckled, kissing their forehead. I just had an odd dream, that's all. I suppose your presence calmed me down. They smiled, leaning up and kissing me. Well, I'm glad I was able to help, but can we actually go to sleep? Tomura Shigeraki. I was in a fight with some hero near the bookstore Listener worked at. I didn't think anything of it, just trying to win the battle and not get arrested. Toma! I heard them yell. I looked over my shoulder to see them standing outside. Liz, I was about to say before the hero punched me. They ran back inside before I pushed the hero back into the building beside the bookstore. As if it looked like they were defeated, I noticed the building starting to fall towards Listener's place of work. Listener, no! I yelled as the building was just about to hit. I woke up to the sound of Listener's alarm clock. There goes having a good nap, I thought as I got up quickly, making my way out to Listener's work. I normally use that alarm to let me know when they would be home soon, but because of my nightmare, I just had to check on them and make sure they were alright. Once I arrived, I saw the building was okay, and Listener walk out unharmed. Good, I told myself as I walked up to them. They ended up bumping into me, not paying attention. Oh, Toma? I thought you said you weren't going to pick me up anymore. I know, I just had a weird dream and I just wanted to make sure you were alright. They smiled, kissing my cheek. Well, I'm glad that you were worried about me, but can we go back to my place and eat? I nodded. Dobby. In front of me stood Listener, in a hero costume with their parents waiting for them. I'm sorry, Dobby. I want to be with my family again, they said as they started to walk off. I grabbed their wrist. Please, Listener, think about this. Goodbye, Toyah. They never used my real name. Baby, please. I already made my choice. With that, they pulled the wrist out of my grip and started walking over to their parents. I fell to the ground. They were one of the only people who I could trust, and then they just left? Just like that? I felt myself breaking down as the world went white. When I woke up, I looked around, seeing I was in my room, and not outside. I noticed Listener wasn't next to me and started worrying. I quickly got up, throwing on my clothes as I walked out to the bar area. There sat Listener talking with Toga and Twice, laughing and having a normal conversation. Thank God they're still here. Once they saw me, they smiled and got up, running over to me and hugging me. "Morning," they said, looking up at me. I smiled back at them, ruffling their hair. "Did you have a good sleep?" You? Could have been better, but it's okay now since you're here." They giggled, giving me a quick kiss before going back and talking to Toga and Twice about who knows what. I'm so lucky to have them, I thought as I walked back to bed. Nato Monoma. I stood there in a chapel surrounded by multiple people, and soon the music started up. The chapel door slowly opened and revealed Listener in a beautiful outfit, starting to walk down the aisle as I had always pictured. Once they stood in front of me, they seemed like they were all right, but still nervous, which was expected. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Nato Monoma and Listener Bakugo." The preacher looked at me. "Do you take Listener as your lawfully wedded partner?" "I do." He turned to Listener. "Do you take..." I can't." With that, they ran out. When I woke up, I felt my face, feeling the tears on it as I reached for my phone to call Listener. The phone rang for a few moments before they picked up. "Baby, what are you doing up?" "Oh, I just wanted to talk to you." "Alright, what's up?" I gulped. "Darling, if we ever had a wedding, you wouldn't walk out, would you?" I heard them laugh for a moment, which worried me before they said, "Of course not. I love you, and I thought we already made that clear." I smiled. "That's good. So, anything else you want to talk about, or was it just that?" Can we stay on the phone until I fall asleep?" "Of course, babe. I wouldn't mind that at all." I smiled once more. "So, what were you dreaming about?" Tamaki Amachiki. I was surrounded in a void of smiles, wondering where the heck I was. I noticed Listener in the middle of them. Their arms chained to the floor as they tried to move or fly away. I tried to walk towards them, but it felt like the ground was quicksand, and every step I took made me sink a little. I noticed two figures walk up to them. They looked like their parents and unchained them, picking them up by the arms and starting to drag them away. I tried to move quicker, but the faster I moved, the more it felt like I was sinking, till I couldn't see anything. There was only darkness. I woke up in fear, looking over to a sleeping, relaxed Listener. Though I couldn't help but think about my dream and how their relationship with their parents was from where I saw it. Maybe it was telling me something. I questioned myself. I sighed and laid back down, pulling them closer to me and having them lay on my chest. I stroked their hair as they cuddled me closer. I was questioning whether or not I wanted to ask them about this in the morning, but decided against it since I didn't want to pry. I wrapped my arms around them and pulled them even closer, kissing their temple as I slowly started drifting off to sleep, stroking their head, not only to try and keep them asleep, but to help myself relax. I didn't end up having the dream again, but it was nice having them beside me just in case. Okay, so that was the end of it. That was about 2,856 words or so. Obviously not super duper long, but still decent length. I just hope you enjoyed. Sorry if my voice got a little bit more raw towards the end. I was trying to have like a vocal break, but I decided I wanted to record this just that way I was there. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed again, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!